Welcome to The Real in Real Estate, your gateway to the source. I'm so glad you're here. We're all about diving into the nitty-gritty of real estate, sharing insights, tips, and some awesome interviews straight from the industry's beating heart. From the latest trends to cool investment strategies, we've got you covered. Let's explore and uncover all the essential tools and knowledge you need for navigating the ever-evolving world of property and housing. Here we go. Welcome back to The Real in Real Estate, where we interview the experts in the field so that you get the facts and we dispel the myths. And today we're here with Hygienitech Solutions with Ed Kampf, and he is the expert on removing odors. And as a realtor and as a homeowner or a buyer, if you've walked into a home and you can smell a cat or you smell smoke, whatever the issue happens to be, if it smells musty, Ed here is going to tell us how we can resolve that issue, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us, Ed.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, Hygienitech Solutions. I created that company 10 years ago, exactly 10 years ago. You know, everything is about sight and smell. And when you walk into a home and you smell something, your clients are going to take two steps in the opposite direction. So I started my company twofold: to decontaminate homes. And what does decontaminate mean? You know, I remember a realtor telling me, I don't want people to think my homes are contaminated. And then COVID hits.
Yeah.
But really, you know, everything is about sight and smell, and whether it's mold or mildew or odors, there's a perception involved, and it's not a healthy home. You know, the EPA came out with a term several years ago, toxic home syndrome, claiming that 6 out of every 10 homes are hazardous to its occupants.
Oh dear.
So, and they also have a term, sick building syndrome. And when an office building is, when people who work in an office building are having health issues, they can contact an industrial hygienist. And the industrial hygienist goes into the home and they analyze, you know, they go into the workplace analyzing what's causing the illness. Well, that's what I do on a residential side. So I'll get calls from people telling me my home's making me sick, and even if it's an odor is an off-gassing of a bacteria. So whether it's tobacco or pets or food or mold, there's something that's off-gassing that they're ingesting. So I go to homes and I analyze what's causing the issue, and my company, you know, treats that. Mm-hmm. So that's really the niche that I created in the residential market.
Well, it's a very necessary niche. So thank you for doing that. What do you find you are most often called for, if there is one thing, from a homeowner standpoint, to get rid of?
Mold.
Mold?
Mold is huge. And I became a mold licensed recently after 9 years of treating mold. I was kind of fighting against it because it's one of the most difficult licenses to get in the state of Texas. In fact, there are only 2,000 mold licensees in the state of Texas.
I did not know that.
It's very expensive. And what I found was the majority of mold inspectors will intentionally fail homes. Really? Realtors would send me mold reports, and along with a remediation report, and I would go through it and tell them this house might need air duct cleaning. The spore counts aren't high enough to indicate that there was a water leak, a roof leak, or flood.
Right.
It could be just indoor plants, or they have a pet, but people fear mold, and the remediators take advantage of that. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, a realtor posted on Facebook, my inspector found mold. Does anyone have a remediation company? That's not your first move if you find mold on an inspection company. What do you think the remediation company is gonna do?
Charge you a lot of money to do something you may or may not need.
Right. So I was contesting a couple of mold inspections that were unethically performed.
Ooh.
But being unlicensed, my word against someone licensed just held no value. So I became licensed, and all I've been doing since then is pissing off some mold inspectors because In Texas, you can't be both the inspector and the remediator.
That would be a conflict of interest, wouldn't it?
There is, but I do that.
Oh,
I
okay.
do that.
Okay,
And
never mind.
I'll tell you why there's no conflict. And that is if you have less than 25 feet of continuous mold in a home, you don't need remediation.
I did not know that either.
So there was a lot that I learned, sitting in a couple of classes about Texas law. I get the calls, hey, I have black mold in my house. Well, is it on an air vent? Yes. Is that air vent in a bathroom? Yes. What should I do? Well, clean it and call me back in 30 days. There are 5 common molds that are found in Texas, but black mold is Stachybotrys. That is a very toxic mold, and that's typically found in a water spot that has been undetected for a considerable amount of time. It festers over time. So if someone calls me and says, hey, I think I have mold, my course of action is to ask them, is anyone having any unusual allergy issues? Or are you having brain fog or nosebleeds or chronic respiratory issues? All of those lead to mold issues. Some are more sensitive than others.
Right.
You can 5 people in a house and one is sensitive to it and having all sorts of medical issues, and the other 4 are not having issues. But in my I've always been an allergy sufferer, and when I got into this business, I found what the cause was, and the cause the solution wasn't on aisle 2 in CVS to mask the issue.
Okay.
I found that my issue was dust mite poisoning.
Oh.
So typically, and it's not unusual for someone to tell me that they're having allergy issues, and I go straight to the mattress. The number one
Really?
piece of furniture in your house that you clean the least, that is the filthiest.
Wow. Okay.
And let me just say this. I'll give you my little spiel.
Please
A
do.
one-year-old mattress contains over 1 million dust mites. Dust mites live in mattresses. They don't live in carpet. They don't live in the drapes. They need warmth and moisture and food. So dust mites are not bed bugs. They don't bite us. They
Right.
live off our exfoliated skin. So they need the warmth, which our mattress provides. They need the moisture, which when we breathe, we lose,
Yes.
we release a couple of grams of moisture per night, whether it's body sweat, and they eat our skin. So they're living on our mattress, but it's not the dust mite we're allergic to. It's
Well,
the
so what, okay, let's take a side trip. What do we do about that mattress? We can't buy a new mattress every year. Or I
no,
can't.
I'll tell you. Well, let me finish. We're allergic to the fecal particles of the dust mites.
Oh, lovely.
So allergists will tell you, oh, you're allergic to dust mites. Absolutely not. It's the fecal particles. So the average dust mite releases 8 to 20 fecal particles. And then let's go back to the average 1-year-old mattress has 1 million dust mites. So you multiply that. That's what we're ingesting when we're sleeping.
Oh
That
my
causes us
gosh.
to have red eye and itchy nose and itchy skin and psoriasis. And it also it will lead into a depression and migraines. So there are a lot of illnesses that occur from the fecal particles of the dust mites. Okay, that's the problem. What's the solution?
Yes,
The,
please.
the solution
Sorry.
is easy. It's an easy solution. And this is what kept me from going to the allergist twice a year, going back 35 years. And that is you take the sheets off your mattress and you clean them. And you can run a vacuum over your mattress because the dust mites are topical. They're not
Okay.
embedded. They're topical. They're on your so a mattress cover doesn't help because they're on, they need the moisture and the skin follicles and the warmth and all of that. But if you run a vacuum over your mattress, you can buy an antibacterial cleaner and spray it about 6 inches from your mattress. And you don't saturate your mattress, but just kind of spray it. If you really want to sanitize it, you can get a UVC light and run it slowly through the mattress. And then put the clean sheets back on, put your pillows, which is where the most of the dust mites can be found because they like our breath. Put them in a dryer for high heat for 20 minutes. And you just
Okay.
sanitize your mattress.
Okay. Well,
So,
since you
so
mentioned
so
mattress,
really, in creating a healthy home, which is what I do, I always go, I start with the mattresses and then work, towards the mold issue of, are there any water leaks, any moisture, or, and then the third thing is, do you have plug-in deodorizers? Which realtors love plug-in deodorizers because it'll mask any type of issue in a home for fast sale. But there are 3,000 carcinogens in a plug-in deodorizer.
Oh my gosh.
The number one cause of cancer in a home. So
You're kidding.
the first thing I do when I go into a home is a scavenger hunt looking for plug-in deodorizers, and I throw those out. So,
wow, I don't even know what to say. That's
it's
shocking, actually.
creating a healthy home is about not only the cleanliness of the home, but what we're bringing into a home, and every day we bring something into the home that off gases some type of chemical. There's formaldehyde in wood flooring. There's carcinogens in latex paint. There's the stains, the dyes. A baby crawling on a carpet is equivalent to that baby ingesting 4 cigarettes, because a carpet is a petroleum product. So indoor air is 200 times more polluted than outdoor air. So being in your house and resting and it is not necessarily the best thing for you, when the alternative is just go outside and breathe the cleaner air.
Okay. Well, I'm not an outdoor person, so I'm not going to live outdoors, but I can certainly go outside more. Um, let's get back to the mattress, because that is just mind blowing. If someone has a mattress pad and they washed it weekly, would that make a big difference?
A mattress pad or a mattress cover?
A mattress cover, whatever you want to call it. The cover that goes over the mattress, yes.
Okay, I'll say this because I spent a year doing tests on mattresses.
Okay.
And I found that the ones with mattress covers are actually dirtier than the ones without mattress covers. The mattress is a natural fiber and it needs to breathe. So they're not, they're great for if you spill something on the bed and you can wipe it up quickly, or if you have a pet that has an accident. But really, it suffocates the mattress. The mattress needs to breathe. But the problem with mattresses, the problem with mattress covers is that it's a 2-man job to put a mattress cover on a king size and queen size mattress. Is this something you want to do once a week, once a month, or every 3 months, or every 6 months, or once a year?
Yeah.
It's on, you leave it and think that there's nothing going on. But it's just, if you waste your money. The mattress stores love selling mattress covers because that's where the profit is.
Okay. All right. So vacuum your mattress, wash your sheets, dry your pillows. Okay.
And
I'm overwhelmed already. All right, let's get back to some other things. When I walk into a home, I can smell smoke, I can smell pet urine, uh, some really heavy cooking scents. Those, I don't know how long those linger, but outside of that mattress situation, and mold isn't, I'm sorry, I'm still tongue tied over the mattress thing.
I threw a
Mold is
lot
a
at it.
4-letter word. Yes. Let me go back to that. When you said, like they see something in their bathroom vent and you said just clean it. How would they know? Well, you said in a bathroom is probably not anything dangerous, just clean it, correct? How would
Yes.
they know when they should not be cleaning it? When they call you and say, I've got this, and you go, don't touch it? I mean, how do we know?
No, if mold, everything is about smell. If they tell me, well, I smell mold, okay, then you have mold. Okay, I see mold. Okay, I see mold. But I mentioned the bathroom and also the kitchen. It's the same thing if the vent, because that's very common. When you take a hot shower, when that warm air hits the cool air at that vent, it's going to cause condensation. That condensation is going to be a breeding ground for mold, or it could just be dust and dirt. And a lot of times, you come into homes. When was the last time people cleaned their vents? But when you see that it's dirty, it could be a sign of dirty air vents, or a sign of mold, or a sign of or a sign that you just need it just needs to be cleaned, like everything else in the house.
Like everything else.
I try not to be an alarmist when it comes to that, because hey, I have mold on the vent. Then I go back to, well, you're having unusual allergies. Are you having any sinus infections and nosebleeds and things like that? But no, it's just fine. I just saw it. Okay, well, just clean it and let's just play it by ear. I
Okay.
like taking the path of least resistance instead of
Yeah.
saying, get out of that house. You
All
got an
right.
issue.
When in
But
doubt, call Ed and he'll tell you what to do.
yes,
Uh,
but
okay.
in,
What about smoke? I can't stand smelling smoke in a house. Are you able to get rid of that odor?
yes, that was really my calling card initially. Hey, I got a house that somebody smoked in for 30 years. Uh, can you do anything about it? The biggest mistake people make hey, I'm selling my house. I'm a smoker. I'm just going to paint the walls. Okay, well, uh, don't paint.
Don't
You
paint.
know, let my service come in because my service is a smoke that will infiltrate the walls. If you're painting it, you're pretty much sealing that resin in. And is that house ever going to be 100%, tobacco free? Probably not.
Right.
So, and it's one of the most common things. So people will start painting to try to do something. They're painting over the yellow walls, but and that's natural. It's not. I run in with a lot of chemicals. I don't have issues removing tobacco from a home. I
Okay.
don't. In the same line, if someone cooks fish or curry, that's the same thing where the cumin seed is something that is going to be absorbed into the cabinetry.
Mhm.
The fish smell is everything, anything porous is going to absorb those types of odors, and that's really where my service helps because it will infiltrate anything that's porous. Cannabis is a big one, depending on if it's inside the loop and I get a call, it smells like tobacco. It's probably cannabis. Uh,
Okay.
but
Okay.
uh, pet is something different. Dog is easy. I can't remove the smell of dog from dog hair, so there has to be some type of cleaning before I go in there.
Mhm.
Cat is a longer conversation than mold.
Okay. Abbreviate, please.
Okay, well, the male cat sprays a very toxic, uh, foul, pungent spray, and ran into more cat than anything else during COVID when people would bring in, they're taking in pets, and if you bring a dog or another cat into a situation where you have a male cat, they're going to start marking their spot.
Right.
But we have to find out where it's sprayed. And typically, if someone contacts me saying, hey, it has a high cat smell, I tell them, rip up the flooring, take out some of the wood trim, and then call me once that's done. Because if the cat's sprayed on the floor, the subflooring is going to have to be treated.
Wow.
It's a team effort and it's an expensive process. And if I can mitigate it 90%, then that's successful. There's some times where it's just, I had one time where a cat sprayed on top of a kitchen counter.
Ah,
You got to find where they do it, and it's a laborious task. But I'm even at the point where I don't even want to deal with cats. But I try to price it high enough so they don't use me. But I also have a friend who does crime scene cleanup, and I'll refer to him.
that's how bad a cat urine is,
It,
huh? Crime
it is
scene.
it is the toughest. I mean, I've done where they've had a pet pig. I've done a house where they had rabbits galore.
Gosh.
But cats, a long conversation.
All right. Well, we'll leave that for the cat people to call you directly.
But there's also another area of what I do. Someone's buying a house and they're allergic to dogs, and the people have had dogs, or they're allergic to cats and the dander and everything. So my
Mm.
my process does remove the dander, anything that's airborne, any malady that exists in that home. It's a complete sanitization, decontamination, and what I say, I remove the DNA of the previous occupants as well.
I like that.
But
Let's say
but
on an average house, how long would it take for you to come in and remove the DNA?
about 6 hours.
Oh, okay. So that's not too bad.
When a realtor calls me, and I've got a house that I'm deodorizing tomorrow, where the occupants smoke and they're staying in the house. So you have a confluence of, okay, I need to show it, but they're still going to smoke. So there is a process that I have for that where I can do a 6-hour treatment, and my process will remove all the tobacco from all the tobacco odor from the contents of the entire house. But there's an agreement that I make with the homeowners is you're not going to smoke inside this house,
Yeah.
or you're going to be paying me twice. But there are I have I'll make an agreement with the realtor of, hey, let me just get it to a point where you can show the house.
Right.
Once they move out completely, if there is any remnants of tobacco, I'll come in and I'll treat again, and I won't charge for that.
Oh,
The main thing
nice.
is the main thing is get that house in a position where people are going to take the third step in the house.
Right. Right. Yes. Um, yeah, because and this is good information because a lot of people think, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? I'll have to remove all the carpet, all the paint, blah blah blah." And it's good to know that you don't necessarily have to do that. If you want to paint, paint, but after you've come in and remove the DNA.
Yeah, that's what's best. The resin from the tobacco, if they've smoked for a long period of time. If they've just been in the house for a couple of years, I'm not concerned about the painting before I get in there. It's not
Yeah.
going to be astronomical, but you have someone selling their house that have just smoked like a chimney for 30 years. You take the picture off the wall and there's a white behind the picture. So, but
I've
that's
seen
not.
those.
Yeah, so have I. It was funny. The very first house I did was in Baytown, where I'm making all these promises, and it was a heavily smoked house. And I drove there, and as soon as I pulled up to get my equipment the next day, everybody's there. The buyer's there. He stayed in the hotel that night. The seller's there. He stayed in the hotel. The realtors, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is going to work. So
My
my,
gosh.
my plan was go through the front door. If it didn't work, go out the back door, sneak around, and drive off.
Oh, Ed.
But miraculously it worked. And in talking to the seller, I charged him $975. It was like a 1,800 square foot home. And I asked the seller, how much were you prepared to lower your price based on the realtor talking to you about the heavy tobacco? And he said 15,000.
Wow.
So I thought, my background, I've been in mortgage for 20 years, and I try to save the buyer, money, get them a low rate. But now having a homeowner keep their equity of their house, that's very important.
It's huge.
You're not reducing the value of the neighborhood and leaving the neighbors with in a bad situation because you had to reduce your price because you chose to sell. So that's what I take pride in is letting the seller keep his equity. A lot of times I'm doing it for the buyer, and they're telling me how much they beat up the seller for price, and and I internalize that I'm not doing good enough job of getting realtors out there to know that I exist and I can help. So
Well, this ought to help. Hopefully, this will help. Though, Ed, I find that's true in just about any repair or issue with a house. The buyer always thinks it costs more than what it really does. So that's why I usually tell clients, go ahead and get it fixed. It's going to save you money. And once they smell something wrong or they see something wrong, then they start looking for more. So it ends up costing you. It's much cheaper to pay you to come in and fix this at the beginning than to try and negotiate later. There's a big difference between 975 and 15,000.
yeah, there is. And I leave something behind for the buyers of any house, even if it's a vacant house. I leave my information behind. Sometimes I'll get a call from a realtor. Hey, they smell something in the house. What is it? Well, that's probably the remnants of my chemical. I use chlorine dioxide, which is EPA, FDA, USDA approved, and and they want to know, is it toxic? Is there
Right.
anything? But it's like, well, there's nothing toxic about it. I wouldn't go into a home with anything toxic to make it less toxic. But I always, I guarantee my worker, if someone calls me and says, hey, we still smell something, I go right out there. I go right out there. I don't charge them,
Fantastic.
but just peace of mind for both of us because it's for my own edification as well. So
Right.
one thing that I added in my mold service is anytime I treat a home for mold, I do air testing. That way I can
Oh,
have a report from a third party lab, and they can validate that my service provided a healthy home for the inhabitants. That's very important to me with the moniker of I create healthy homes. So people ask, should I get a mold test before? It's like you can do a mold test before, but I do one after to demonstrate that the problem's been resolved. If it's not a home that is needing remediation,
Right.
meaning it was flooded, I tend to steer away from the insurance issues where the home was flooded and they have it's going into maybe litigation or something like that. I do the 25 less mold issue, and that's where 90% of the homes fall within the you don't need remediation, you don't need to get out of the house, you don't need to tear out sheetrock. I was in a home the other day and someone was saying, yeah, this sheetrock's been wet for 30 days. I kicked it. I said, my foot didn't go through it. I said, it has its integrity. It's not been wet, you know,
Interesting.
but there are cases where a home will be failed and there's a little bit of mold underneath the kitchen cabinet, and I'll spray it and wipe it and it's gone. However, the remediation report says rip out that whole cabinetry in the master bathroom and replace it. That's not necessary.
Mm. What is the 25-foot rule? Why 25 feet? I'm
That,
curious.
well, what's interesting is that what the state has done is they've taken everything asbestos remediation, removed the word asbestos and put in mold.
Oh,
So it really goes
okay.
back to asbestos remediation, where you need a license to remove the asbestos, but the
Right.
state kind of did a lazy job on just creating the whole protocol for mold under the guise of what was there for asbestos.
Mm.
And but if it's more than 25 feet, then the state has to be notified. If there's more than X amount of Stachybotrys mold spores, the state has to be notified so that the remediation protocol goes into effect. I did an air test on Friday, and I got the results today, and had one mold spore of Stachybotrys, the black mold. That's not anything of concern. However, I want to treat it just for the sake
Right.
of that completely, because one mold can turn from one spore
Two.
to 1,000 spores, within hours.
Hmm.
So, it's just kind of curious. But there's some parts of the protocol I don't agree with, and some parts I think is a little bit over the top. But the most important thing is, you don't need a remediation company to remove wet sheetrock. You need a handyman to remove
Yeah.
wet sheetrock. If the
Right.
sheetrock has mold in it, there's no protocol on throwing it into a dumpster. You don't have to hermetically seal it like it's a biohazard. You can throw a moldy sheetrock or wood in a regular dumpster or garbage. There's not a protocol for that. So many times where people think, well, I need remediation, it's like, do you have a handyman that's going to charge you by the hour to remove it? I can come in and treat it. And rather than it cost you tens of thousands, it might cost you a couple thousand,
Yeah.
and
Big
you're
difference.
in a good environment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ed, what else have we not talked about that you'd like to share with everybody?
Uh, Allergists don't want to promote my business.
Really? Oh, because they like to write prescriptions?
Yes. And doctors, when we've all been to the doctors many times. When was the last time the doctor asked you about the age of your house? People go in there with sinus infections or with issues, but they're not really asking questions about what's in your home, where you're spending the most amount of time.
Right.
But I wrote a book. Your home is making you sick. How to create a healthy home.
Oh,
It's
wow,
on.
that's good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I came out with this during COVID because while the CDC and it was telling you stay in your home, don't go out,
Mm.
the worst advice. But I talk about the things in the home that causes cancer, that are detrimental to your health. And nothing represents that more than a report that came out from fire marshals. Uh, I read this report that said 40 years ago, if your home was on fire, you had 7 minutes to vacate before the flame and the smoke,
Mhm.
got to you. Today you have 3 minutes.
Oh, wow.
3 minutes. And that's because of the plastic water bottles and the flat screen
Everything we
TV,
use.
everything that we use, the
Mhm.
plastics, the kids' toys and everything. once it comes under high heat, it's going to emit some type of gas. So
I get it.
the polyurethane with the wood flooring, I'm seeing a rise in people using mothballs. It's crazy.
Oh, really?
Uh, I'll walk into a home that has mold or, high odors, or they cooked meth. I'm not wearing a respirator. If I hear they have mothballs, I'm wearing a respirator.
Oh, wow.
It's just,
Okay.
it's terribly toxic. It'll burn your lungs. There's a dust that falls off of it and becomes airborne. It's really dangerous. But a lot of people are putting it in their toilet. They're putting it in their closet, and they're doing things. We have a couple of generations that did that because clothes were made out of silk. Now they're made out of synthetics. So you don't need, we don't have a moth
Right.
issue. We have a
Well, I don't
mothball.
have any mothballs, and I'll make sure I don't get any.
Yeah, so it's just knowing what's in your house
Yeah,
that could be causing issues, and the home is the respite. That's where we
absolutely. We want to feel safe.
recharge, and the mattress is the first chapter of my book.
I'm going to get your book, I swear.
But,
Well, Ed, we're running out of time. So, Hygienitech Solutions, do you want to tell? We will have your contact info in the
okay.
podcast, sorry. But if there's anything you want to give them right now, obviously you've got a book, but how would they contact you? You have a website?
Just then call me
Okay.
directly. And my website is hygienitechsolutions.com, and yeah, I'm always accessible. My phone is always turned on. I'm always happy to help people,
I
and
like that.
uh, I love what I'm doing now.
I can tell you're very enthusiastic about it. Well, listen, thank you very much for taking time out of your day to come join us. And hopefully, this will help some people, and hopefully, you'll hear some people. If you've got a question, please call Ed before you do anything to get the facts, find out what you really need to do.
Thanks so
Thanks for
much, Gene.
joining us, Ed. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to The Real in Real Estate, your gateway to the source. Be sure not to miss our upcoming episodes loaded with fantastic insights, expert tips, and all the latest trends in the property scene. Don't forget to stay connected with us on our Trilogy Realty Group socials: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and even TikTok. Until next time, take care.